Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm a tutor at Sky Academy, and we're in the topic of measurement within the Year 11 Standard course, and we're looking at measurement and energy, which comes under MSM1. So in this video, we're going to have a look at energy consumption. So this table does a nice little summary of all the different units of measurement within energy consumption, but the main ones we're going to focus on and going to use quite regularly is watts and kilowatts. So watt is represented by the symbol of W, and if you see watts, that just is represented by 1 watt. So our watt is our base foundation in energy, and then we have kilowatts, and kilowatts represented by the symbol KW is 1000 watts. So we can convert from kilowatts to watts and vice versa. So if we're going from kilowatts to watts, we would times by 1000. And if we're going from watts to kilowatts, we shall divide by 1000. So that conversion rate there is very important to remember for when you do questions involving watts and kilowatts. There is one other thing that we will use, which is kilowatt hours. And it's where you have an appliance such as a light bulb, and it will be running using 4 kilowatts each hour. And so to find the kilowatt hours, you do 4 times 1. If you wanted to find the kilowatt hours over a whole day, you would do 4 kilowatt hours. So 4 kilowatts per hour is what the light bulb uses. And if you're running it for 24 hours, you do 4 times 24. So kilowatt hours is another unit of measurement that we use. And you just have to remember that if your appliance is in the terms of watt and the question asks for it in kilowatt hours, first you need to convert it to kilowatts, then you can convert it to hours to make kilowatt hours. So let's have a look at the next slide. So energy consumption is the amount of energy consumed per unit of time. So for example, we want to figure out how much energy a heater will use over 30 minutes. That's what energy consumption is, how much energy something uses over a specific period of time. So here we have some questions involving energy consumption. And it says, determine the cost of operating the following given the rate of electricity is charged at $0.17 per kilowatt hour. So there's a couple of things to be aware of before we start answering the questions. And that is they charge $0.17 per kilowatt hours. So when we're doing the questions, we need to make sure our unit of energy is in the unit of kilowatt hours. So question 1 says a dishwasher which uses 670 kilowatt hours per year. So we're already in kilowatt hours, so we don't need to change anything. We just need to find the cost. So we are going to do 0.17 times by 670 to figure out the cost per kilowatt hour when we use 670 kilowatt hours. And that will give us an answer of $113.90 per year. So now in question 2, it says a 2.4 kilowatt heater for 5 hours. So remember, we need kilowatt hours. We only have kilowatts. So we first need to times 2.4 kilowatts by 5 hours to figure out our kilowatt hours. So we times it by 5, that will tell us how many kilowatts we use over 5 hours. So we'll use 12 kilowatt hours in over 5 hours. And then we can times 12 by the cost to figure out the cost of running a 2.4 kilowatt heater for 5 hours. And that's going to give us an answer of $2.04. And finally, for question 3, it says a 20-watt lamp for 1 year. So we need to get this in terms of kilowatt hours, and we are only in terms of watts. So firstly, we're going to go from watts to kilowatts. And when we go from watts to kilowatts, we divide by 1,000. So if we have 20 watts, we're going to divide that by 1,000. And that's going to give us 0.02 kilowatts. Now we've got our kilowatts, we need to figure out our hours, our kilowatt hours. So we have 0.02 kilowatts. We're going to times it by 24 to give us the usage of the lamp for 1 day. So if we have that lamp on for every single minute of every single day, for every single hour, for every single year, if we times it by however many hours are in a day, then times it by the days, that will give us how much we use per year. So we're going to times it by 24 hours, then times it by 365 days. And that will give us how much electricity we use for 1 year. And that's going to give us an answer of 175.2 kilowatt hours. Now our final step for this question is to times the kilowatt hours by the cost, which is 0.17. And when we do that, we get an answer of $29.78 for 1 year. So just to recap in a quick summary, when you're doing energy consumption questions, you need to make sure it is very important that your units are the same. So if your units are in terms of watt and the question wants it in terms of kilowatt hours, do your steps to convert firstly to kilowatts, then to watt hours, kilowatt hours. So you need to make sure your units are the same, otherwise you'll get the question wrong.